Welcome to the 17th session, where we are creating a well-being curriculum to meet the new global goal of education. For this, we are using 5,000-year-old ancient wisdom, which we currently call Indian knowledge system, but which was a global knowledge system always. In this session, we will see how Indian knowledge system's comprehension of elements and their fusion as three qualities in creation helps everybody rise in Maslow's need hierarchy and achieve education's new goal of well-being. For doing this, IKS transforms the subtle attitudes, values, competencies. All these are subtle. All creation uses the secrets of nature and its energy. Why should a knowledge system that explores them and tells us how to use them not be treated as an international knowledge system? If a source of energy is found that is naturally removing darkness of ignorance, can it be denied? Similarly, what if the source of energy that gives evidence of removing social pain and meeting the goal of education is identified? If one energy powers the universe, would it not be the source of energy within humans too? Would it be wrong to identify that one source of energy? What if it powers both humans and all things in creation, leading to the processes of creation, preservation, and creative destruction? What kind of investigation would find it? If found, what would it conclude? Sometimes scientific inquiry say of how to apply results of quantum physics idea about reality to daily life leaves us confused. Just as we get lost in a maze and can't find a way out, society seems to have lost its way in the maze of social pain. If a way of finding the way out is shown, why should it not be considered useful for everybody or be known as an international knowledge system? We pause for 5 minutes for you to write arguments for and against this idea. Is the truth of righteous conduct Buddha's middle path? The 5 elements emerged during creation. These enable human faculties to experience sound, form, touch, taste, smell. IKS seeks to use all elements in moderation. Creation is a fusion of the 5 elements in varying proportions. Seeing fusion's multiplicity causes confusion. IKS concluded that the elements must be treated with respect and approached with humility, as they are the basis of all our investigations. They are free and full of infinite potentiality. We must learn from them so as to use them. Studying the 5 elements led Indian knowledge systems to conclude that their nature is to offer loving service to all. For example, the tree does not eat its own fruit, or the stream drink its own water. This is a natural law which expresses the infinite potential of elements. As humans are made of elements, they too should have infinite potential. How to discover it? They concluded that by giving loving service to all, the infinite aspect of human potential can be realized. What guide do elements give to human behavior? Experience teaches us that excess of wind, fire, water can harm our health. Drinking water excessively is a torture. Inhaling more air is suffocating. Fire is best used in moderation. Beyond limits, it destroys. Sound, too, beyond a limit, is intolerable. Indian knowledge systems defined excellence as learning their efficient use. This was its form of worship. It knew that the fire element in the body mechanisms ensures a steady degree of warmth, above or below which we can't be healthy or active. A dynamic balance that sustains us also sustains the universe. It pervades everybody and everything. It is called energy, or some call it God. So, IKS seeks to tread softly, move reverentially, utilize all the bounty of the five elements that sense perception enjoys very gratefully. Current and Indian knowledge system both use sense perception, inference and comparison. Identification of the source of creation and source of energy is ignored in the current knowledge system. IKS, on the other hand, views all creation and its processes through one lens, the lens of five elements fusing into three qualities or three gunas. Underlying all the infinite expressions of energy in nature and creation, it sees only these five elements at play. By identifying the nature of creation in this way gives simplicity to complexity. The five elements are ether, air, fire, water and earth. To make things simple, we visualize a chair. We separate two things here: A, the source of creation; B, the energy that is responsible for the processes in creation. This is a fundamental difference between the two knowledge systems. IKS revelations find that the source of creation is independent of the processes of creation after creation has begun. It finds that all processes in creation follow their own laws. Science too identifies many laws, formulae, equations, etc. These laws govern how things work. The terminology used for these laws in IKS is dharma. Therefore, each process of nature follows its laws or follows its dharma. Some we have understood and others we have not. The laws govern change. The never changing source of creation is just their observer, not a participant. The five elements are the warp and woof of creation. These are ether, air, fire, water, earth. To understand the foundations of American society, for example, some people state that just read the Constitution and its Declaration of Independence. These are its warp and woof. As in any fabric, the threads that run lengthwise are called the warp. Those that run across are the woof. Together, they bind the fabric. Similarly, five elements bind all creation. They are a common thread, creating it, binding it, and running through it simultaneously. This is Indian knowledge system's basic concept. A fabric may have different colors. It may be used for different things. These could range from wiping a cloth in the kitchen to a pair of trousers. It may be a wiping cloth in the kitchen. In all these uses, the structure of the fabric depends on the warp and the woof. Similarly, all of creation, irrespective of its infinite diversity, was revealed to consist of 5 elements. If skeptics, non-believers, etc. say these were deduced, that is also okay. Only an understanding of the fundamental structure of the universe by humans can lead to proper search and research. That this fundamental structure has an underlying unity is not denied by modern science too. Science seeks the underlying unity of common atoms as the basis of all creation. However, despite such an understanding, neither well-being goal of society nor rising in Maslow's need hierarchy could be achieved. The application of growth in knowledge as a guide to living life is wisdom. The different bases of current and Indian knowledge systems is that the focus of such research was prosperity in current knowledge system. The OECD has revealed this basis of education. IKS instead uses inner search to further its exploration in the region of the spirit that guides work and the way of living life. Such search of the inner and outer world visible to sense perception led to well-being. This search started by using the analysis of 5 elements. The 5 elements are gross and subtle. Using them clarifies that creation is both gross and subtle. This clarifies the ways of knowing too. If the ways of knowing are not clear, social pain results. To avoid this, we explore the relationship between ways of knowing and the 5 basic elements. Both current and Indian knowledge system use sense perception or pratyaksha pramana. Sense perception sees the gross materialized world. IKS says that creation of the universe was caused by radiation, which led to vibration, which resulted in materialization. Ignoring the subtle stages leads to a misunderstanding of creation and how to use it for realizing human potential. The coming together of earth and water leads to materialization, which guides sense perception. What caused them? The subtlest ether caused radiation, leading to vibration that caused air to move. Movement has energy as its basis, so fire resulted. From the fire in the lightning, water resulted. It mixed with earth. Materialization as earth and water, if taken as the only truth, causes an illusion. Quantum physics discovered it. Ether is incomparable with anything. It is unique. Its space and time scales have yet to be fathomed. It's the source of the voice of conscience. Its expressions as energy keep the cosmos in balance. Let's go from theory to practice and discover the basis of action in Indian knowledge system. Let's start with worldly duties. These seek excellence and fill it with goodness. Understanding the 5 elements in nature is not useful if we use it only to explore the outer world of sense perception. The world and universe experienced senses as in the gross world. A subtle world exists within us that gives both fleeting and permanent joy. Will the same 5 elements that form the universe not be present within us? If scientists explore their permutations and combinations in the outer world, should we not explore them in our inner world also? With such thoughts, the scientists in IKS deduced that there are 5 kinds of senses in humans: hearing, touch, sight, taste and smell. These 5 senses are based on the 5 elements: Akash, ether; Vayu, air; Agni, fire; Apa, water; and Prithvi, earth. Let's see how the 3 qualities that govern the cosmos, or the 3 gunas which govern the cosmos, emerge. According to Indian knowledge systems, the 5 elements group themselves within the cosmos and within the human body to produce 3 qualities or gunas. Balance within ourselves is achieved when these are in balance. Indian knowledge system first explores the principle that transcends the 3 gunas, that is the source. At the beginning, the 5 elements space, air, fire, water and earth emerged from the source. Each element has its unique characteristic. From the 5 elements, a process of fusion began, from which came the 3 gunas or qualities. The cosmos is the visible form of these 3 gunas. The trinity of IKS gods is interpreted to represent the deity's expression of these 3 qualities. IKS understood nature in 2 ways. 1, from the viewpoint of the process of creation. 2, from its everyday experience. The cosmos is permeated by 3 gunas: sattva, rajas and tamas. At first, the nature of creation which is caused due to sattva guna has to be clearly understood. The inner instrument in human beings, the antahkaran, represents the total sattvic quality which is existent within the 5 elements. So, within these 5 elements are hidden these 3 qualities, and in our inner being, the innermost instrument, that's where sattva gun is present. As Akash or space is the first among the 5 elements, from Akash, this pure space, emerged what is known as Shuddha Sattva, pure Sattva. This accounts for the human form. The sattvic aspect of Akash accounts also for the emergence of the organ of hearing, the ear. The second element is air. The skin is the product of this sattvic component of air. The eye is the organ representing the sattvic principle of the fire element. The individualized sattvic aspect of the 4th element, water, is the tongue. The nose represents the individualized sattvic aspect of the 5th element, the earth. Thus, the sattvic components of these 5 elements account for the 5 faculties, human faculties of Shabd, Sparsh, Roop, Ras, Gandh, that is sound, touch, sight, taste and smell. As each of these faculties has emerged from one particular element only, the 5 faculties are distinct in every person and perform different functions without any overlapping. Akash is represented by sound, and the corresponding sense organ is the ear. The ear can only hear and not perform any other function. Likewise, the skin can only experience the sense of touch associated with air. The eye, which is the organ associated with fire, can only see and do nothing else. The tongue, representing the element water, only tastes. The nose, representing earth, only smells, cannot taste. Thus, each sense organ reflects that one particular element from which it has evolved, and that's how it functions. So while each of the sense organs is limited to a specific role, the inner being, the Antahkaran, is able to combine all the 5 organs, because that all the 5 organs have emerged from it, are the cumulative product. It's the cumulative product of all the 5 elements. Now this Antahkaran, the inner being, alone has the capacity to experience all the perceptions of the 5 senses. That is the 5 ways of knowing, 5 Gyanendriyas, because through it you get the Gyan, the knowledge of the external world. Are these organs of perception functioning externally or internally? The answer is that they perform a dual role, both internal and external. If only the physical organ, the ear, is present, but if the faculty of hearing is absent, the ear cannot hear. If the faculty of hearing is present, but there is no ear to receive the sounds from the outside world, the faculty is of no use. It is the combined operation of the Gyanendriyas, external organs of perception, and the corresponding invisible internal sense centers in the brain that accounts for the functioning of the human personality. So with the external organ, each of these organs, there has to be an internal sense center in the brain, and this external internal match is what creates balance. Now, for example, you want your voice to reach a big audience. So the mic is inside but the loudspeaker is outside. So the loudspeaker without the mic and the mic without the loudspeaker will not serve the purpose. Both have to work together. Similarly, their external organs have an internal organ, and both of them work together. While the combined operation of the 5 elements in their pure sattvic state is seen in the Antahkaran, the inner being, the collective functioning of the 5 elements in their rajasic aspect expresses, that is the activity oriented aspect, expresses itself as the life force, the prana. Among the 5 elements, in their individual expression of their rajasic quality, Akash is represented by Vak, the voice. Vayu, air, finds expression in the hand. Agni expresses itself in the individualized Rajogun as the foot. The 4th and 5th elements, water and earth, find rajasic expression in the 2 excretory organs in the body. In this context, we must take note of some significant facts about the functioning of these elements. In the sattvic or the pure aspect, Akash, that is ether, expresses itself as the ear, but the same Akash in the rajasic aspect appears as Vak, the faculty of speech. It may be inferred from this that we say in IKS that Akash has 2 children. This is what they mean. This is the code used in IKS when we say that ether has 2 children. The ear representing the pure sattva quality and the voice representing the activity oriented quality or rajas. The first child of ether, so to say, the ear, receives the sounds coming from outside. The second child, which is the voice, sends its reaction from the inside to the outside in the form of words. So the same way, the skin is the first child of air because it can feel air. That's the pure sattvic aspect. The second child in its rajasic aspect or the activity oriented aspect is the hand. For instance, the skin recognizes an ant crawling on the body. Immediately the hand tries to remove it. It will be seen from these examples that sattvic or pure quality is concerned with receiving impressions from outside, while the activity based quality, the rajasic quality, is concerned with casting them out by way of reaction. In other words, the Jnanendriyas originating from the pure receive the stimuli from outside, while the Karmendriyas, those that do actions derived from the Rajasic, the activity based, they respond to the stimuli which has come from outside. So, in the world today, what is happening is the exact opposite. What is activity oriented, that is Rajasic, is being taken in, and what is Sattvic is being rejected. In the natural scheme of creation, what should be received is that which is pure, and what should be rejected is all that is activity oriented. So, this is the basis of the way we absorb cues and what forms attitudes, which is what OECD wants to transform. So, this is the IKS way of analyzing the human being, the five elements coming together within the human being to transform attitudes. The next aspect to be is which we are trying to understand is that under the influence of tamoguna, the sloth oriented third quality, the five subtle elements evolve themselves into five gross elements by the process of what we call as panchikritam, the fusion through permutation and combination. This is a highly complicated process. So, we will try to illustrate it by the following example just for ease of understanding. Suppose the five elements come together as five individuals, and each of these individuals has 1 rupee coin. Now, each of them exchanges this 1 rupee coin for 1 half rupee coin and 2 4 anna coins. So, it has got 2 4 anna coins and 1 50 paisa and another 50 paisa coin. A 2 anna coin is equivalent to 1/8 of a rupee. Then Akash, let us say the element, ether, retains half a rupee and distributes among the other 4 elements 1/8 of a rupee each. Similarly, the second element Vayu does likewise and retains half a rupee for itself and distributes 1/8 of the rupee to the other elements. Fire, water, earth are now doing the same. So, there is a resultant redistribution which has taken place. Now, all of them have got 1 rupee, but now you can use the example of $1. So, each of them has the same quantity, that is 1 rupee or $1, but its or 1 euro, but its composition is affected by the exchanges among the elements of parts of their respective nature. So, the ether has given its respective nature to each of the elements and has got a little bit of the nature of each of these elements within itself. Originally, each element was whole by itself. The process of mixing has resulted in the presence of all 5 elements in every rupee. So, all the elements are present in every rupee that we see in creation. Every element everything that we see in creation is a mixture of all the elements. This means that ultimately each element is composed of half of its original nature. This second half consists of 1/8 of each of the other 4 elements. The composition of earth, for example, will be half earth plus 1/8 space plus 1/8 air plus 1/8 fire plus 1/8 water. The composition of the other 4 elements will be similar. And let us relate it to the human being. The process of Panchikritam makes a human being a mixture of the 5 elements and creates diversity from unity. Now, in the spiritual parlance, the 16 aspects are there. Now, what are these 16 aspects? They are the 5 Jnanendriyas, the organs of perception, the 5 Karmendriyas, the organs of action, the 5 elements, and the 16th is the mind. Every human has these 16 constituents. Although the 16 kalas are attributed only to the divine, the implication is that humans have the capacity to realize their divinity. But today human desires are for worldly pleasures, and these desires have exceeded all limits. And what is more worrisome is that quick fulfillment of innumerable desires is leading to a lot of shortcuts. What IKS wants humans to realize is that shortcuts are always dangerous and riddled with many problems on the way. So instead of going over a path full of thorns and stones, it recommends the highway, even though it may seem longer. The way of the IKS, or the way of creation, the way of what IKS calls divine, is not easy to comprehend. Only by wishing the welfare of everyone in the universe, we can understand the secret of creation and secret of the source of creation, which is using many methods. But all this requires a lot of practice, a lot of self-analysis, and a lot of introspection. This course lays a deep emphasis on practice. Every attempt is made to make all the lectures very short. A 5-minute slot at the end of this lecture is being given for silent sitting. This is to enable the participant to mull over what is said. Whatever has been heard should be repeated in the mind so that it gets absorbed. Just as sugar is stirred in a cup of tea or coffee with a spoon, use the spoon of silence to stir the sugar of Indian knowledge systems in your mind. It takes some time for the tea or coffee to become sweet. Patience is very important. The perspectives shared in the course will seem meaningful only if such silent sitting is done to mull over what has been said. Else, the half an hour spent in delivering the lectures will be a waste of time. We welcome you to undertake an inner journey during these 5 minutes. Only then will knowledge that is outside you will become wisdom inside you. The time allocated for this is actually 20 minutes, not 5 minutes. The time should be increased gradually. This is also a time for the mind to take rest. In case it cannot do that, mull over whether the voice of the conscience has guided you at any time in life till now. We accept challenges for the physical body in games. In a gym, we can have a 20 minutes plank challenge. We may exchange challenges on the quantity of food we can eat. Can we go beyond such challenges to the second step of the Indian knowledge systems? Can we see if the mind itself can take rest and maybe stop working? Can we explore what will happen if it becomes zero? Remember, it is not good to challenge the mind. It rebels and makes you do the opposite of what you want it to do. It is far simpler to observe the mind. For doing this, first the physical body should move as little as possible. Observe the mind as it tells the body to move. You are not telling the body to move, the mind is telling the body to move. Observe the mind. Move away from the mind and see what it it is forcing the body to do. Watch the mind as if you are sitting on a fan at a distance. When you are at home, Shavasana in yoga is a good posture for this practice. Try to first silence the body, then the mind. For those who have mastered this, they can try the next method. When you think of nothing, can you experience love without giving it a shape of a thing like your favorite food or a thing that you want to own or the physical form of a person? Can it just be love without an emotion to a person or a thing? Can it be love for the sake of love? How do you experience loving yourself? The purpose of this course is to help you discover yourself, that loving being beyond the body and the mind.